First story. A new girl in my friends group ruined my life, falsely claiming I sought her, and my so-called friends cut ties with me without even verifying. Now, years later, they are reaching out and want to reconcile after the truth comes out. But I'm better off without them. I don't know why I'm writing this because this is all behind me. But I feel like I should get this off my chest anyways, because I haven't really talked about this with anyone. Oh, and it's going to be a long one, so grab something to drink. A little backstory. I was 16 years old when I became close to a group of 4 friends online that were a few miles away from the town I grew up in. I've always had trouble making friends at school because I couldn't find someone who had the same interests as me. So I guess I was sort of the weird kid in class, and was the odd one out. I've always kept my interest to myself because they're so different from everyone else's. Anyways, after I've met these 4 friends from a meme group on Facebook, as I remember, we became close, and we made our own friend group where we talk about a lot of personal things and didn't really try to hide about our different lives. For context, 2 of the friends were the same age as me. One was 2 years older, and the other one was 2 years younger than us. It felt like we were a family of brothers, and I've never really had someone to count on like I did with them, not even now. They were great. Then, we met another group of friends online, but they were girls and had their own friend group. They were all the same age as me, and we bonded really well, and I would be lying if I said I didn't have a crush on one of them. But that quickly faded as I learned we would be better off as friends. Now, for the sake of the readers, I'll skip all this and dwell straight into the main things. But first, I would like to add that the girl who accused me of saying her entered the friend group of girls only after a year of us knowing each other. And it was weird adjusting to her. But we vibed with her regardless, because we were all so similar and had similar interests and humor. Now, after 2 years of getting to know this friend, let's call her Cindy, along with the group of guys whom I had a close bond with, and the group of girls we've become somewhat close with, all moved to the same city to pursue our own dreams, most to study in college. But I wanted my own career in the sales and marketing industry and decided to get an internship, which you can easily get from where I'm from as long as you have decent grades and a high school diploma, which I had. So, I pursued that. And after 2 years and getting a job with decent pay, I'm still studying and doing online classes, so I can land an even better job at a better company. Anyways, back to the story. During these 2 years, I hanged out a lot with these friends I've made online, and it was awkward at first. But we eventually warmed up and started to hang out like any other friend group. We even met up with the girls from the friend group, even Cindy, though it was a few times I met her in real life. She didn't really seem like the type to have a grudge, especially not me, as we got along great. One night, she called me over to this park, saying she wanted to hang out because one of the girls from our friend group had an emergency and had to go home. So she was all alone and wanted to hang out with someone until she had to go home as well. And because everyone else was busy, and I had just come home after finishing my shift, I decided to go and hang with her. Mind you, this was around 9 p.m., yet it was like a famous park, so people were still around since the park closed around 11 p.m. Anyways, we hanged out for 2 hours talking and laughing, while calling our other friends and taking pictures, usual goofy friend stuff. After that, she wanted to go home and asked if I wanted to come home with her and drink some coffee and hang out until midnight. Which was weird, but I said sure, why not? And then she proceeded to tell her roommate that she was going to be over and that she was bringing a guy and wanted to know if any of her friends were over at their apartment. I didn't think much about it at first, as I thought she was making sure it wouldn't be awkward to hang out in their apartment while her roommate had other friends over. The roommate then proceeded to say no, so Cindy says okay and hangs up. We walked to her apartment and got in as I saw what I guess was the roommate leave from her apartment, which weirded me out a little, but still, I didn't think much of it. We proceeded to hang out, have some fun, and drink coffee she made. We even took some snaps to show to our other friends. Anyway, after 30 minutes of hanging out and laughing, she asked me if I wanted to go home. I said no because I was a bit tired since we had basically speed walked to her apartment from the park, which was a kilometer away. Then, after talking a bit, I proceeded to leave and say goodnight to her, and all was well for the night. The next day, she was acting really awkward and closed up, as if she were depressed about something. Then, a few days later, out of the blue, one of my closest friends from the friend group had suddenly left the group chat. It was a shock to the rest of us, and I thought something must have happened at home because he wasn't the type to leave the group chat unless something really depressing had happened to him. I pursued him into his DM, but he ignored me. After a few days, I checked our chat again to see that I now have been blocked. I told my other friends to check what happened and what did, and they said they were going to, slowly but surely. one by one have left the group chat and blocked me, except for the guy who was 2 years older than us. Even the girls from the separate group chat we were all in had left and blocked me. Even Cindy. I found out later from the 2-year-old friend that Cindy had accused me of trying to saw her while I was at her apartment. And this took me by complete surprise and utter confusion. Apparently, she told all my friends one by one that when I went to her apartment that night, I tried to grab her inappropriately and tried to come on to her. She even made the claim that she had told me to leave, but I resisted and said I wasn't going to, and that I had only left after she threatened to call the police. My friend told me all this and asked me if any of this is true, and I explained to him how the whole night went in full detail, and he said he believed me and that he was going to tell my story of the story to the rest. But I told him no. I told him I've seen how this is going to play out, and that they're going to believe Cindy regardless of my side of the story. And that if these so-called friends were just going to block me without even confronting me about it or hearing my side of the story, then they don't deserve to be called my friends. I thanked him for sticking by me and hearing my side of the story, and that was it. I moved on, although heartbroken and extremely sad, to the point that I couldn't trust anyone ever again. I kept my composure and moved on with my life. I knew the only reason she didn't file a case against me was because she couldn't prove it. Instead, she told my friends to cut contact with me and pretended to be self-harming for several weeks, which I learned recently. So, after a few years of no contact with me, one of the girls from the friend group reached out, asking if any of the things Cindy had told them were true. At first I laughed at the text and asked her why she wanted to know. Now, all of a sudden, she just kept asking me, and so I told her how that whole night went down. She was in shock and was really sorry she ever believed that B word. I asked her why she wanted to know all about this all of a sudden, and she said it was because Cindy had shown their true colors to them and saw how much of a narcissistic, disgusting pig she was. I don't exactly remember what she had done, but it was somewhere along the lines of Cindy sleeping with multiple people and the girls from the friend group finding out in different ways. She was basically a street gardening tool, but there were so many lies and betrayals from her that they decided to completely cut her off. I myself was surprised and didn't understand the extent of just how much of a boss she really was. The girl that reached out kept saying sorry to me, and I told her that I had already forgiven her and the rest of the girls because we weren't that close. So I understand them taking Cindy's side over mine, but that I can never forgive the other 3 because they were my closest friends, and that I at least expected them to confront me about it, and that them not doing so made me realize that I can never trust them again. She told me she understood, and we got to catching up. I then later found out that the reason none of them confronted me was because Cindy had convinced them not to do so, and that she feared for her life that I might do something to her. She kept being self-harming within those weeks, and had told my friends that she had harmed herself too, but that when they met up for a get-together, they couldn't see any scars on her arms. So yeah, that's my story. The old friends that I decided not to forgive tried reaching out to me through mutual friends, but I have turned them down every time, and they have stopped trying since. I genuinely don't think I can forgive them because we were as close as brothers, and yet they chose to believe the word of some random girl and not even confront me about it. It's been a couple years since all this, so it's completely in my past now, and I've yet to find out why she ruined my social life like that. I'm glad this hasn't reached any of my relatives, because this all might have been a different story if it did. I myself don't want to build a case against her, because last I heard all her closest friends have left her, and she has become a drug addict, and has basically thrown her career in nursing out the window. What are your thoughts? Should I build a case against her and take her to court? And should I forgive my friends even if they didn't confront me about it and hear my side of the story? I'd love to hear what you all would have done in my situation. Second story. My girlfriend cheated on me with her abusive ex, falsely claimed I cheated on her with my boss, raged at her ex to physically assault me, and then said she would always choose her ex over me. So I broke up with her, and now she has come back, begging to reconcile after her ex ghosted her. Not all of the events that have happened will be put in to keep my anonymity, so forgive me for any spacey bits. I 27 unsure what to do about my girlfriend M26. Some backstory. I met him 3 years ago at a store. We hit it off immediately. We spent all our spare time hanging out together. And then 2 months later, we started dating. Before we started dating, she told me of her past relationships. Her boyfriend during their relationship was verbally, emotionally, and sometimes physically abusive. She broke up with him after 3 years together. I met her roughly 2 years after the breakup. She knows I hate his guts, that I think of him as despicable, and I'm glad that this F.er lives 17 hours away. While they were together, M had made a bond with ex's child. When we talked about this, I initially understood her feelings toward his child, having practically raised them and supported her wanting to stay in contact. Her ex soon decided to cut her off shortly after we started dating. Nothing was heard from either of them for 4 months. Then the harassment came. He would blow up her phone with sexist jokes, saying how bad of a person she was, how he knew that she'd F up her current relationship, and the list goes on. I told her that this was unacceptable and to block him. She agreed and did so right then. Now we come to the present. We were in bed, and I will say that she has me check her phone if it goes off in case it's her parents, as they're getting up there in age, and we help out at their house quite often. It goes off, I check it, and it's him. I shouldn't have, but I check the message, and it opens the whole conversation. And they're chatting as if they're good friends. I'm confused. I've lost count of how many times she's told me she hates him and doesn't want to talk to him ever again. The latest being Saturday. But this has apparently been going on for at least a month. And I'm shocked that she hasn't told me when he tried to contact her last year. I didn't say anything, as I didn't want to start that conversation at the time. She tried to hide it from me later when he texted again, seeing the notification and quickly scrolling past it when showing me something. I confronted her about it, and she said that he's just talking to me about his kid, when there was no mention of him at all. I feel bad for intruding, but to see that going on. Am I just insecure? I don't know how I feel. I don't know how to calmly approach this situation with what I know and what I've been told. Update. So I'd like to thank the users who took the time to respond to my post. In short detail, we broke up. I decided to sit down with my girlfriend. I asked her why she was really texting her ex. She said that she needed someone to talk to about life and vent, and apparently he's a better choice for that than I. I also was shown all of the messages. She didn't bother trying to delete anything as it would show that it had been. But he was clearly trying to drag her back or break apart our relationship. Subtle flirting and even some knight in shining armor BS. She told him she thinks I cheated in the past with my former boss because I sent her and my manager memes and often helped her and her wife with projects to make extra money while they prepared to sell their house. I read multiple messages from him on how he would have beaten me to pulp if he was still in town, and how he was so upset that he put holes in his wall. The cheesy SHT. How he would never cheat on her, he cheated twice. I hope y'all can see he's also a narcissist, and insisting that me helping them out was suspicious, as it was only during the weekend I would do this. Even though I always sent her pictures of the work I did, receipts for the supplies, and even footage of me working from their home cameras they have for their 3 dogs. And there was never a question asked to me about what I was doing over there aside from what time I expected to be finished, and was normally done on time or early. Oh, and I didn't mention that she didn't tell him we had gotten it sorted out, that I had never in fact cheated. She didn't tell him anything to dissuade him or diffuse the situation after he had threatened me like that. Nothing. Whether she thought it was serious or not. I was very upset by what I read. I felt like I had no value to her and that I wasn't trusted. No matter what I did for her, it seemed that I wasn't enough. I pressed her. I told her she has 2 options. She cuts him off and we go to therapy, or she can continue to have her chats with him and I walk away. Honestly, I should have just ended it myself, but I was curious as to what she would do. But it's over. She refused to cut him off, saying her only chance to talk to his child again is by talking to him. I told her if that a child that isn't even hers and a man who abused her is all she really cares about, then good luck with that. Grabbed my stuff and left. Rude? Yeah, I let my emotions get a hold of me. I called her parents and ended up telling them we've split. They're great people. They told me they're sorry that things turned out the way they did. They've even invited me out for dinner Friday, just me and them, so I can get some of my tools I've loaned them and to talk more about this. I thought about declining their offer to dinner, but her mom is too sweet for her own good. And her dad and I always have a blast having a drink together, so I'm going Friday. I've doubled down on my decision. And knowing them, they probably won't press me to try to make it work. After all this, I'm going to treat myself to a nice bottle of sake I've been saving in my fridge and just relax. Thank you for bearing with me on this huge arse update. Thank you everyone for your kind words, wisdom, and thoughts. Your comments have helped me so much. Alas, this will be the final update. M has tried contacting me non-stop, from calling to messaging me on SN, begging me to talk with her and work things out. I replied only once, saying that I gave her a chance to work this out, to compromise, and to go to therapy together. Only for her to refuse and choose her ex and child over me. Apparently yesterday, he cut contact with her, blocking her on everything. And honestly, I saw it coming. But he'll probably do it all over again when she finds a new guy. She's a wreck, and I pity her somewhat. But she's made her bed, and it's time for her to lay in it. I told her that there will be no second chance, that I was finished the moment she made her values clear, and again suggested she get therapy. I wished her the best, and then deleted her off my phone and anything else she was on. I went out to dinner with her parents last night, and it was actually a good time with them. Her parents were kind, yet to the point. Her parents told me not to mince words or leave bits out, and just tell them exactly what had been going on. I tried to tell them that while I respect them, I did not want to drag them into our relationship problems and wanted there to be no issues with them and their daughter. Well, her dad told me they had already had a long talk with M and, regardless, wanted to hear my input. So we talked. I told them about her ex and kid, his threats, and him trying to break up our relationship. Well, I guess you can say he did now. Her lying and hiding his messages. I told them I gave the choice and what she chose. I insisted to them that they take her to seek professional help, that if she keeps this up, she's going to tear herself up, and any future relationship. I want her to be happy someday, but it just won't be with me. I'm tired of the lies and deceit. I just want to move forward and live my life, and I hope she can do the same. Their response was not exactly what I expected. They apologized to me for her actions, saying that they were disappointed that things turned out as they had, but supported my decision to walk away from her. I won't lie. I had expected them to ask me to talk to M and try to move past it, but there was not even an inkling to that. Her mom came and gave me a hug, but her dad just seemed dejected. I'd never seen this man look this way, and it felt like a punch to the gut. It hurt seeing him like that, knowing there was nothing I could do. We ended up just sitting there in silence for a minute before he decided to order a round of shots. A round turned into two, and that seemed to help relax everyone as we started chatting about my future plans, their retirement, goals, and hopes. We were out for 3 hours, chatting as if we were just normal people. I had a great time, even though it hurt. We cried a few times, laughed, and remembered past times when we'd make a fool out of ourselves. When we were about to part ways, her dad gave me a bone-crushing handshake and a hug, which her mom ended up joining in. This man has never hugged me, so I was really caught by surprise. They told me to take care of myself, eat healthy, don't sink yourself in alcohol, and just focus on getting through the days. They're going to look at options for therapy for M and recommend that I do the same, which I think I'll do. They handed me a bag with my tools, said they're going to miss me, but wished me the best. I gave them my goodbyes, and we parted ways. I feel like a huge weight has been lifted, both off my chest and my shoulders. I decided I'm taking a break from dating. One day I'll find someone. But that's all in the back of the mind. To others who may be going through similar situations, talk to your partners. If you've only talked about going to therapy, schedule a session. If not for you both, do it for yourself. Do not sacrifice your mental or physical health for the sake of a relationship. If it's not healthy and attempts at improving your relationship fail, walk away. I know for many it's not that simple, but when will enough really be enough for you? Third story. Entitled Gramps abused, cheated, and ran away with his evil mistress, abandoning his family, causing Grandma to be shunned, humiliated, and to die, traumatizing my mom for life. He has now come back after 30 years with demands, as his affair partner wiped out all his money and kicked him out of his own house. First of all, sorry for the bad English. I'll call him Ross in this story because he looks like the Hulk villain. TW is due to domestic and saw mentions. Warning. Long story to give you guys an idea of the guy Ross is. Back in the 50s, my granny was the last unmarried daughter in her family, so she was pushed into marrying Ross to begin with. The only reason he got married was because he got her pregnant. In the end, they had 8 children together, all of which he managed to F up badly. Ross was a teacher, and in the community they lived in that made him very respectable. He was anything but. For starters, he was an alcoholic and heavy smoker. My grandma had severe asthma, but he didn't care. He also smoked during her pregnancies. The alcohol was the worst, though. He clearly wasn't happy with being tied up to Granny. So he'd go out every night to drink, get back home dead drunk, and proceed to hit my grandmother when she complained. My mom and her siblings remember he'd rip off her clothes in the fight, and they'd proceed to the bedroom. You can guess what happened in the bedroom. As I said, he was a respected member of their community, and my granny did have a temper. It was the 60s, so everyone thought he was justified in hitting her because she talked too much. And he had marital rights. He was very zist. The society was extra zist, and he took advantage of that. By the sixth children, Granny was very mentally ill. She had 6 children below the age of 10 to take care of, suffering constant abuse. So the elder ones started taking care of the little ones and of my grandmother when they became teens. The youngest ones would go to them instead of the parents because they knew Granny couldn't handle stress. They are the family's problem solvers to this day. I should add that the first 3 children were girls. The fourth was a boy. Needless to say, he became the GC, especially because the only other boy turned out to be gay. Did I mention he's very homophobic? Mom was the second child, so she and her elder sister would take care of the young ones. By the time Mom was 12, she'd already driven and would go, with her sister, around the neighborhood at night in search for him. They'd often find Ross passed out drunk in the streets and had to drag his arse back home so Granny wouldn't worry about him when she had small children to take care of, one of which was my GC uncle, who was a handful because Ross spoiled him. He'd be violent with the children as well, grabbing them by the hair and hitting their heads against the wall, forbidding them from studying in whatever schools he taught, so they wouldn't find out about his mistresses, etc. Everything good his children are today is due to my grandma's moral values she managed to teach them. Now, about mistresses. This is where SHT hits the fan. He always had side women, but this one evil mistress was the worst. She'd make Granny's life hell, rubbing in her face she had her man. Ross was gone on her, so he eventually ran away with her. He ran away, just didn't come back home one day. By then, the youngest was already 20, so the children managed to find him again. So he bought a home to live with evil mistress in the same neighborhood as Granny. Granny was very religious, so she'd be at church every Sunday. Ross and evil mistress started showing up as well. Despite living in the same neighborhood as Granny, however, he managed to avoid the children. He refused to take calls and went very LC with the family. He ignored the family entirely, except to rub evil mistress in their faces, or to talk SHT about the children, and say homophobic things about my uncle. He humiliated the family in front of the whole social circle and his family, causing them to be shunned and disrespected by neighbors and his family. He talked SHT about my dad when he started dating Mom. Really bad SHT, because Dad was poor guess, who's very well off now, arsehole. Dad worked his arse off to provide and be an awesome dad. You may imagine talking SHT is not bad, but the kind of things he said were very bad. Homophobic things, racist SHT, things that hurt and gave the children some very effed up issues. One of my aunts is on psychiatric medication because of her issues that are rooted in things he put them through during childhood. The family did try to reach out to him. Even if he didn't want Granny anymore, the children still wanted a relationship with him. He refused. He said his family was an evil mistress. That's not even half of the SHT he pulled. Needless to say, the children have strong dad issues. I won't say more because those are 2 specific things. Not to mention he caused Granny's death. But that's another issue entirely. Now, fast forward to last week. 30 years after he ran away. Evil mistress kicked him out after taking all the money she could. He's over 70 now. He's not senile, but has mobility issues due to an accident years ago that the children helped him through since Evil B refused to take care of him. Out of the 8 children, only Mom and GC remain in state. Everyone else is on the other side of the country. He's at GC's house. GC is so selfish, he puts his old dad to sleep on the couch. No matter how awful he was, it's basic human decency to give him some dignity like a bed, food, shelter, and hygiene. My mom leaves her own bed when he needs to stay at home. GC is the only one he kept in touch with and kept on sending money to him. GC raised his own children on Ross money. Now he's trying to push him onto Mom. We don't want to leave him to rot well, we do. But we know it's not a human thing to do. The children are willing to pay to have him cared for by a nurse, be it in an elderly home, at his own place, or even at our own effing house. His presence deteriorates Mom's mental health badly. Last time he was home, she had breakdowns every night after he went to sleep because she knew she had to treat him like a human being. But she hated herself for doing it when it hurt her to pretend they were family. And she is effing willing to have him live with us, but with someone to care for him because she just can't because now she's older and has health issues. But no, he wants the children to be with him 24/7. No matter that the children have lives. My aunts that are on the other side of the country, the youngest ones that didn't think the worst of him and have better conditions to take care of him, offered to have him live with them. No, he doesn't want to go. He wants to stay here because he has hopes Evil B will take him back. And GC refuses to take care of him properly. So it's going to end up being up to Mom. As said before, Mom can't deal with him. She emotionally can't. She is willing to have him live at home, and not only as a stranger, but as someone who dines with us. I just know that's going to send her to an early grave, but she will do it because that's who she is. As long as we can hire someone to take care of him, because Mom can't. She has her own life also. She works, and she has to take care of her mental health. But no. He wants the child to take care of him 24/7. To stop their lives and be his nanny. And pander to him. In the end, this is going to be Mom. I want my mom healthy and happy. But this man comes and wants to make demands after over 50 years of being the worst human being he could. Even when the children are trying to find a compromise to give him a comfortable life on their penny, Ross has a fat pension that could pay for a great life. While most of Mom's siblings are piss poor because Ross made it hard for them to study. The only ones who got education were the ones helped by Granny's Bill, who was a saint, and by the eldest siblings, who started working earlier. Am I a bad person for wishing he just died already? Of course I am. But that's how I feel. Edit. Update. Mom, as always, had to play mediator with GC uncle. Nuts auntie. I know it's bad to call my aunt, who has mental health issues, deprecatory terms. But she's an entirely different story of being an N family that I'll tell another time. And Ross. In the end, Ross made up a huge sob story, which I'm sure was evil mistress doing. And after Mom played the concerned daughter, he accepted to move to the other side of the country with my other aunts. I'm not counting my victories before they happen, though. Ross and Mom's siblings are very fickle and could change their minds anytime. So we're working on sending him there before they have the chance. I should mention that every single kid has N tendencies, Mom included, but on different levels. Most of them are very low-key, so it's not really a problem, just a headache sometimes. GC and Nuts are the very worst, though. And GC has a son that is worse than GC himself. I'll tell his stories later. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.